I'll tell you in a bit about the rest of my morning. Some of you, if you're Catholic, maybe pray for me that I'm not going to hell now. We'll give a minute to get everybody in here. It is busy. It is also a holiday weekend, big weekend in Paris. But everybody is back. I know some of you were recently here. I think in the last 10 days, it's like exploded with people. But thanks, guys, for joining me today on a special little tour marking our 3-year anniversary of this sad, sad event. I think we all remember watching that as it came on our TV screens everywhere. So we're here on the south side of Notre Dame. An easy way to remember north and south is north is Montmartre, south is Luxembourg. That's how I always read it. It's always what got that down. I was like, we're good. Hey, June. So we'll go ahead and get started. And so 3 years ago, at just about this moment, it is just a little bit after 6 p.m. here. At 6:18 p.m. is when the fire started. At 6:20 is when the fire alarm went off. And that, as we know, somebody had gotten an alarm and decided to run up. They went up, it was coming from the attic. They went up to the attic. They didn't see anything. And so they didn't, didn't do anything at that moment. And at 6:51 is when the fire department was called. And the next minute, 6:52, is when smoke was seen coming from the roof. And then we all know how those next moments happened. And I can't believe it was 3 years ago today. The really good news of this is in September is when they finished securing everything, getting it into the position that we see it today. And they've already started the restoration work. The goal is 2 years and 1 day. It's 2 years from tomorrow at noon. They will hold a mass and we should be back inside her. So that I will definitely be front and center at that door when it opens. I cannot wait to get back in there. But I wanted to come on this side too, because you do get, actually, this is the best view that we could get without tons of mobs of people. But this is also one of the greatest places in Paris to see the cherry blossoms. And I was really happy to see, we've had such horrible weather until a couple days ago, that the cherry blossoms we did have really went through it. And now they're kind of, faded away, but you can still see some over there. But if you were here in the past before 3 years ago and came here on the cherry blossom, it was an amazing, amazing spot to sit. And just get that beautiful photo of the blossoms with the back of the church. That part that we see that's right above the cherry blossoms, that's the sacristy. Below it is where the treasury is, which is what held all of those priceless items. The crown of thorns was not there. The crown of thorns is actually back behind the choir. They opened up a door and you went down underneath the floor where it was locked away. And I did get to see it today, which was pretty amazing, which I'll tell you about. But the sacristy here is where the treasury was, where they have the tunic of Saint Louis and a bunch of other items that were locked away down there. And nothing was damaged. Nothing in the chapels was damaged. Of course, the roof and the spire and how it broke through, it came through the transept. But luckily, nothing, none of the art or any of that stuff was damaged at all. So now you can see how everything's kind of reinforced up there with all of the scaffolding to hold everything together. You have nets going around the top that's keeping it all together. And so hopefully they're working away in there, getting it all ready for us to go back inside and see. So let's head down the street a little bit. So we're gonna go down around the bridge here at the end and go across that is all of, and I know some of you have been here in the last 3 years, or we should say less than a year. They brought in all of those pieces, which they do a lot of times. When they're doing construction, they drop these in, and that's their offices. There is a really cool on the front where the wall is in front of the parve. There is a really cool kind of a cartoon-like sketches and drawings that kind of tells you the behind the scenes working part of the job of restoring everything. I'm going to get past these people here. And so I'll share that today. But this morning, so 3 years ago today, it was, 6 o'clock here. So very early in the morning, West Coast time. And I remember getting a thing on my phone that said, a fire at Notre Dame, or I was watching France 24, France 24, and it was all of a sudden in bright red at the bottom of the screen. And it said, fire at Notre Dame. And I was like, what? And so I instantly sent a message to mon pompier, Willie, and I said, what's going on? It says, oh no, crud. Okay, we might not be going across the bridge. They might be doing something. Okay, we're going to head back this direction. It's all blocked up. The president was coming to Notre Dame at some point today too, inside. But I sent him a message, and I said, what's happening at Notre Dame? It says there's a fire. And he responds back to me and he said, oh, I don't know. And then he goes, they might be doing a drill. And so I said, really? Because they do that. They do drills on the monuments, maybe not necessarily at the monument, but they do different drills if something was to happen, the pompier du Paris. And so I'm like, really? Because it's on the news. And at that point, I'm like scouring everything. I can't find anything about it when I first see it. And then about 15 minutes later, he calls me and he's telling me, no, it's something serious. At this point, I see that it's also something very serious. And he was off that day. He was a fire just north of Paris in Saint-Denis. And he, at the time, wasn't working. And but it was great. He got in touch instantly with all of his buddies and was like giving me information like live as it was happening, which was really cool. And I was like, why aren't the firemen there? What's taking so long? And he's like, you've been here in traffic. And unfortunately, the downside of what the mayor is doing with closing off all these things, like we all love to walk along. We all love to walk along the river on the north side where cars used to drive. But with that, the other side of that is it, globs up all of the routes. So it makes it really difficult for emergency vehicles to get around. So that is the other side of it, which is something I never realized or thought about until he has been telling me these things. That, because then the fire trucks were literally doing everything they could just to try to get here. They also used the boats to come down here, the pompier boats, to bring water up from the river up to get up there. But he was like, it's very difficult because of how it's located to get to it. But I remember watching it at my desk, and I'd always get to work like 3 hours before anybody else. And then I was like, I can't do this. I can't be here. So I went home and did some work from home, just watched it. And then when I saw the spire fall through, knowing what was in that spire that I was always obsessed with, that's when I just kind of lost it and started crying, because I thought, oh, it's got the relics of Paris with Saint-Denis and Saint-Genevieve's relics and a piece of a true cross. Excuse me. I was like, those are gone forever. And thankfully, as we know, the amazing Philippe saved it, or they found it in the rubble, all beat up, but you could see it. You can see the rooster still today in Paris at the Architecture Museum, where you could also see all of the statues that were miraculously taken off just 4 days before the fire. And those are all restored now, and they're in the Architecture Museum, which I have done a podcast episode about, but we also did a little Zoom video about it, and you can find all that on my YouTube channel and watch all of them. It's really cool if you're in Paris between now and whenever they go back up onto the ceiling, or the ceiling onto the roof. Definitely go check those out, because I need those books. You're never going to be able to get that close to them, because once they go back up onto the roof, obviously they're a little farther away for you to really get to see the details of them. It's pretty amazing. So so I remember getting all of that information from Montpellier directly, and just and then he would say, oh, they have to, he's like, the concern now is the bell towers, and eventually they, everything was happening at the spire collapsed at 7:50 p.m. and at 8:30 p.m. is when they decided to stop trying to save the roof and move to the bell towers, because if the bell towers, the structure inside is wood, and if those collapsed, we would have lost the entire facade, because those incredibly heavy bells would have come crashing down onto and destroyed the entire facade. And I guess that we were literally moments away from seeing that happen. So thank God that didn't happen. I see that there's a pause here. Oh, Sharon, I'm so glad you guys went. I'm so glad that you went to go see that. It is pretty cool to see those. There has also been this week, just up the hill a little ways at the Sorbonne, the students have been doing an occupying of the Sorbonne, because they're ticked off that the elections aren't talking more about climate change. So they decided to occupy the Sorbonne. There was even people climbing up the side of it. And I did this podcast episode with this gentleman the other day, and he was showing me a photo of the students, and you can't even get anywhere around it. They won't even let you walk through. It's all completely closed off. So I came here earlier today, and I will post those videos. I took a bunch of videos because and they really cool to see. There wasn't actually as many people as I thought. There's actually more people here at the moment than there was at that time. But this morning, I think I started telling you the story about going to see the Crown of Thorns. So those used to come out here on the Good Friday at Notre Dame at 3:00, and then every Friday of Lent, and then the first Friday of each month. And I was so excited because I was going to arrive on Good Friday, and I was really excited that I was going to come here and see the procession and do the whole thing. And I got here, well, and I did still come here. It was 4 days after the fire, but now they do it at Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois. And I went there this morning. It's out all day long from 10 to 6, Saint-Germain-l'Auxerrois. And I went in there, I was super excited to go see it. And I was kind of standing back in the corner trying to get a picture, and then I got yelled out by a priest, and basically he followed me out. So I'm probably going to hell now. But it was pretty amazing to see it, whether you're Catholic or not. I was not raised Catholic, but everything historical about it, I think, is just amazing. And it was really overwhelming to stand there and see. I didn't get up close to it because they were letting people go up there to pray, and you used to be able to kiss it. They don't let you do that now with COVID, but I would have loved to have gotten closer, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. But it was pretty amazing and moving to see it, and just to know the story of Saint-Louis getting it and bringing it to Paris and having Sainte-Chapelle built to hold it. They handed out these little cards so you can kind of see what it looks like. It's in this really beautiful crystal, encased in crystal, and has gold on it, and the crown of thorns for inside. But here we are in front of Notre Dame, and that is Our Lady. That was a copy of Our Lady that was right under the transept. She is out. It's down to my left bar as well. And then here's the real lady. And from the front, she kind of looks the same. And then you see all the stuff on the side. But she looks pretty good from up here. Do you imagine if we had actually lost the whole thing? Ugh. It could have been so much worse. And I think if you listen to the podcast episode, 2 episodes we did about Saint Genevieve, because there was so much about her, I think Saint Genevieve saved her, because if you haven't listened to the podcast, she's a patron saint of Paris, but after she had died, about 200 some odd times, she is credited with saving the city from famines, floods, droughts, all of these different things. And so her relic was in that rooster. I think she saved it. You could argue with me, but I'm going to stick with it. But so here's this wall here where they have put, they changed this. I was really bummed out when we did a live video here a couple months ago. I was really bummed out because they used to have this really great pictures of the doors and kind of pointed out what all the meanings of the stories on the doors, and I'm obsessed with those. So I love sharing those with people. Now we can't see it, but they have this really cool, I love that one there at the end. I took some pictures of all of this earlier. I'm going to post all these on my story. So if you want to see some of them close up and really look at on the details, I'll post those later today. But it's very sweet. I just love her curly little hair and her little face. And then here, so up at the very top, you see in blue, it says Villeneuve. I am in love with him. He is one of the main architects for the monuments of France, and he was already doing work. So when the fire broke out, there was already the scaffolding that was on the roof, and they had taken the statues off because they were going to it needed some work up there as well as a spire, and I almost call it a steeple, but I guess that's the same thing, right? And so they were already doing this work. So Philippe was already working on it, and then everything happened. He was actually outside of France. He was out on Brittany because he gets involved with a bunch of different churches and monuments when he found out about it, and then had to basically get his stuff and get onto a train and get back to Paris in the middle of the night. And he is the main guy that is in charge of everything. And I just love him because he's going to save it. And just like this other guy here, Viollet-le-Duc, who is another one I just love because he was the one who redid it into the 19th century after Victor Hugo wrote a little book about Notre Dame and made everybody fall in love with it and say we need to fix it. And so you have all these great little, I took lots of pictures of these today. But this is really cool. And I love that they change it out. We'll go by the other side of it too. We're gonna walk down the side, which is probably gonna get really crowded. But this whole thing is really dedicated to the people that are just doing things to save it. And what they're doing is beyond amazing. And you have like the person that's in charge of the stained glass, if that's their expertise. Her name is Claudine. I was quite excited about that. And they already have been working. So all of these back where you see the painting that are in the chapel, all of those were designed by Ville de Duc. And there's a really cool book that I found a few years ago, and it's basically all the drawings of what he did for the chapels. Of, you know, you go in these and they have, you know, the saints painted on the wall. All of that was Ville de Duc, because a lot of that stuff was destroyed between the Revolution and then when they were doing things for Napoleon, when he had his coronation in there in 1802, they basically whitewashed, scrubbed the walls, and all of that was destroyed. But you could see kind of here, they've already taken the organ, it's already cleaned. It was taken out, it's now cleaned and finished. They are already, the beams that are going to be replaced into the ceiling have already been, they've been harvested all over the country. I do think this one's pretty funny. Only in France would they put that on there. So this is on the side where we saw all of those big portables. This kind of gives you an idea of what's all in there. I love that this one called the Sal Quasimodo. But so every day, the reason why there's a guy in the shower is because every day when these guys come into work, they have to strip all their clothes off, put their work clothes on. At lunchtime, they have to take all those work clothes off, take a shower, and then they basically put new stuff on afterwards, and then they have to take a shower again before they leave each day. So if they come in and out, they have to go in and out of this thing. They have to do that every single time. So the amount of things that go into this stuff that, you know, we can't really fathom, which is why I think that something like this happened in the US, they probably would have just torn it down, because I sadly don't think we value things like this as much. And of course, we obviously don't have something that's old, but it is quite the undertaking, the amount of people. I did a live video here back in September during my favorite Patrimon weekend. They did out here on the Parve. It was really cool. They had all these little tents set up, and they had the scaffolding people, the artists, the architects. They had all of these little booths set up, and they had all of the people that their job is to restore this. And I just could not love those people more and think of how amazing they are. But it's so cool. One of my favorite things is these braces that they created. It was one of the first things they did. They created those wooden bases, which we will see underneath the flying buttresses. And those were some of the first things that they did to install there, to hold it up, because if they were worried that if one of the pillars in the center fell, and the flying buttresses is basically what's holding up a lot of that, it could have all completely been destroyed still. So just because the fire was out did not mean that everything was in the clear. So it took quite a long time. But, you know, in 3 hours, a little over 3 hours, the fire was contained. Oh, can't go through there. And of course, you know, because we were in the US and it happened in the morning, we were able to watch it the whole time, but it was pretty tragic. But there was a ton of security here earlier. Bishop Patrick Chabet was speaking, and the Archbishop as well. So that was neat. And they had the singers from Notre Dame were here. Oh, okay, it's not too bad. And this is the Hotel Dieu next to us, of course. But they did this really great kind of photo essay that kind of tells you a lot about the Notre Dame itself, and then also the fire. So that was right there 3 years ago. And I know that it's I don't think it's ever gonna get easy to look at that. I mean, when I look at that and I could see here, like how beautiful all of these parts were, And all of that lead, and then that gorgeous, gorgeous spire, and you can see the rooster still up there. And I just remember seeing that image of it falling and just heart-wrenching. Okay, it's really loud. And then we'll never forget that when the door opened the next day and they had that image. But they cataloged every single piece that came down, every single, which I don't even know how you do that. They cataloged all of the themes and all of the stone. And when they had that thing, the booth set up in September, it was really, really cool because they literally, every one of those stones has a number, a letter and a number. And then they had this thing laid out, looks like security. They had this thing laid out and they were basically putting in there where these stones came from. And some stones, if they will do work on it, and some of them, because they were in water for so long, they were, you definitely can't, they are destroyed. You can't use them again. But some of those stones, they will return back into the roof. So some of those, 10th century stones will go back up there again. But it is, you definitely notice when you see it from the side, and of course from the back, you really know that she's really gone through something. I can't believe it's been 3 years. How about those 3 years, 2020 and 2021? It's actually not too bad right here. So these usually, maybe it's, oh, there it is. Usually these are kind of spread out a little farther. I'm gonna get a sip of my water, but you can see up there, you can see those braces under the flying buttresses. And they really are, I think that's just fascinating. And then let me zoom in there for you. If you really look under there, you could see where they put like boards in there to like shore it up to really get it tight in there. Sorry, it's so wiggly. To really get it tight to fit in there, which is pretty cool. Those upper windows were taken out pretty quickly. Claudine and her team came in there and did tests on the windows. They found that those did have a little bit of damage on it because of the lead dust. They did, and the heat, but the rose windows, all three of the rose windows were completely unharmed. And the funny thing is what really saved the glass is that all the stained glass was coated in probably decades of dust and dirt. And it really, their biggest concern was the lead. And so that all of the dust and the years of dirt really saved it. There is a thing right now going on that they are wanting to ban lead, and that would mean also for stained glass. And so all of the artisans are really speaking up. It's been on the French news even recently because that, the lead is what they use to do stained glass. In between, I think, because it's so soft and malleable. So that is going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But here they are when they were bringing those all in place. I mean, it's just like the workmanship and the knowledge and everything. Like, so these are the guys, and they put those on every day. They come in and out. It's just amazing. And so here was the scaffolding that was here when the fire happened. So this was around the spire, as you could tell. And it took until, I think it was finally last summer. I think it was in like July or so that they finally got it all apart. And that was the trickiest part of all of it because they were afraid, because all of it like melded together in heat. And they were afraid that if something fell, if like a big chunk of it fell, it could, bring down even more of the stone ceiling that was in place. And so they actually put these huge beams all the way in, like a square around it. And then the workmen would actually, in harnesses, tie themselves up from the top and basically hang there, taking apart each one of these pieces. And there's thousands and thousands of pieces. And it was finally done in July. But you could look at that. I mean, just a mess, a tangled mess inside the church now. And I will post some photos. There is it's all in French, but there's a Facebook page. It's all about the restoration or the Renaissance, they call it, of Notre Dame. And they post really, really cool information, sometimes videos of the inside. Basically, the inside is completely scaffolded. It's the entire thing is the scaffolding, except for in the very center. But you know, like how they were able to do research on these onto these beams to figure out exactly where they came from and the age. It's like, that's just like fascinating to me. Chrissy, I see you sending me things, but I'm afraid to open it when I'm doing a video. And so here you can see, like, oh, like the moment I could get back in there. And I am so incredibly grateful. And I have seen people that have said, like, you know, they never went here because it was always so busy. There was always such a long line, but the line would move really fast. But people would say, like, oh, I never went there because I thought it was too busy. And, you know, don't wait for these things, guys. Just anything in life, don't wait, do it, because you don't know, something like this could happen. And you know, maybe you were never going to get back to Paris. But I am so grateful that I have spent probably hundreds of hours inside there taking photos and documenting everything because I was so obsessed with it. And I have all of those, and I have all that, all of those documentations, because who knows, there was a lot of talk about basically almost turning it into more of a museum. Let's go. Can we get through here? I don't know. There's this new little tunnel here. It's going to be kind of dark for a minute. But they now are saying that they're going to put the furniture, the chairs and everything, they have benches, and they're going to be on rollers. So they can roll it away. So the inside, the center nave will be open. And some people are very happy about that because they don't want it to be, I mean, the churches itself, the churches were the first museums. The churches is where the great artists of France, where their paintings were displayed, where way before there's ever museums. But it's Notre Dame, so you see them doing, it's also a church. It is a church first and foremost, even though it holds so much amazing history. But I was not happy when I watched it was like the Catholic council that's making these decisions. I was watching their kind of final thing where they were voting on this stuff, and I was not pleased to see some of the things that they were deciding to do. We'll walk down here, but I don't think, I'll have to see if we could even get, how close we could get to there. I want to know, I know you guys are all putting lots of, Tara, you were there the month before. But now I hope your girls are so happy that you did do that. Yeah, I definitely need to go. I really wanted to go and see the, I really kind of wanted to try to go see the movie before today, but that was definitely not going, I didn't have time to go and see it, but I definitely going to go try to get time. I think maybe we could get down there now. Maybe the president was here and gone, walk across the street. So today when I got here, I was able to stand kind of right in the front, waiting staking my little claim. And 3 different TV stations. There was a ton of press there. They kept coming up to me, and I was on 2. I would be on like I spoke English on 2 of them, and one of them in French. And I don't know what channels they're going to be on. So just in case you see see my big blonde head on TV someplace today. I didn't say it. Didn't like it was. I think all for French TV. But they kept asking. They asked if I was Catholic, and why I was there if I wasn't Catholic. And so I was like, "Oh, it's about the history," and I love it. And you could really see back how much. Right here. I mean, look at all that. I mean, I haven't seen. That's just, and you know, it's the scaffolding is an interesting thing. They still have never said what happened. The scaffolding, the workers on the scaffolding were not allowed to smoke. So I guess some of them and some of the bosses admitted that maybe they had been smoking up there, but they're saying it wasn't because of that. Some people are saying that it was electrical with the wiring for the bells. I honestly think it might not be something we'll ever know in this lifetime. It might be, it might be like the Kennedy assassination. It'll be released in, 300 years. So somebody leave notes for their grandkids to stop by my grave and let me know when they hear about what happened. We'll go over here. I love that you guys are all telling your little stories about Notre Dame. It is a pretty amazing, special place, and I know that a lot of people. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways is that people found out that this wasn't the Cathedral of France; it was the Cathedral of the world, really. And the huge outpouring of money, and then there was the big criticism where people said, how horrible it is. There's bigger things that we should pay for, and these billionaires giving millions of dollars to restore her. But funny little side story to that: all of those billionaires that pledged all this money, not all of them have come through. So that's not cool. But I don't know. I think she's pretty special and she needs to be saved. But it was Patrick Chavet, who is one of the bishops. He's been there as long as I've been going into the church, and I would always see him in there. And so every time I see him, it's just a little like, oh, it makes me feel good when I see him, just because I remember seeing him in there when I'd go in there every morning. I used to love to go in there. I think it was 7:30 when they'd open the doors, and you could go in there and before everybody got there. And that's where I would really just walk around and take notes and photos. And that was when I was dying to get into the back of the choir where the Pietà is, and the statue of Louis the 13th and the 14th. And I was dying to get in there, and you can't go in there because that is where the faithful pray. And I don't want people going in there taking photos, of course. And I would always kind of peek my head in if nobody was there, and I would be told, no, you can't go. And then one day, this little guy that was always in there sweeping saw me, and he came over and he said he sees me in there all the time. And he said, do you want to go in there? And I was like, oh, I would love to, sir. And he was like, okay. He's like, come with me. And he took me in there, and I got to get close and see the statues and take some pictures of it. And it was really one of those special moments that I'll always remember. It was very sweet, but I'm so happy and lucky that I had all of that time to go in there. And it's sad when people wanted to skip it. Or when they tell me they don't think they need to go to the Louvre, and I feel like it's literally somebody stabbing me. Like, how dare you say you don't need to go to the Louvre? But she's pretty special, and she's coming back, so they're already in the middle of restoring her. Like April 16th, mark your calendars, April 16th, 2024. We should be back in there and seeing her in all her glory. You know, luckily, as I was saying, everything was saved. They did those human chains of officials. I think there was 400 firefighters and city officials and everybody that was in there, and basically made a chain and pulled out the relics and the things from the treasury. And they instantly took those to the city hall. And there was those great photos of the candlesticks, that those gorgeous, gorgeous tall candlesticks that actually were from the coronation of Napoleon. All of the paintings currently, and a bunch of them are of the Lemay's paintings, which I'm obsessed with, and I'll share more with that on May 1st. And all of those were taken out, and they are now all being restored down south of Paris. And there's been a bunch of stories about that on the French news. If you, even if you guys don't speak French, it's really good practice. You could actually stream French news. There's, of course, France 24. You could stream that through YouTube for free. You could do it in French or in English, but it's really, it's just kind of the basic news. You could also stream France TV. Channel 2 is what I watch every morning, because it's what I watch every morning here, but you could stream it, and it's like 3 hours every morning. But yesterday they had a whole bunch of stuff about Notre Dame, and I'll see, you can stream it for free. You don't need a VPN to watch the news part of it. If you want to watch other things on there, you do have to have a VPN. But I will see if I can find it and link it on my Facebook page. It's all in French, so it's a good test for you, or for the ones of you that Chrissy speak French. They talked a lot about different things about Notre Dame, the anniversary, but more about where it is right now and where it is going forward. And it's just really special and amazing that, you know, it means so much to us, but it means the French people and history and you know, it's much more than just a religious symbol. But I will see if I could get a link to that, because you can watch past episodes. It was really, really neat. I was actually around the corner. I think I was brushing my teeth, and then I was like, what did they just say? But I couldn't rewind it. They're pulling those out from all over France. They're shipping them back up here, and they'll start using those to rebuild the roof. Should I walk you guys down here a little bit? Yeah, Chrissy, that's true. I mean, even if you aren't religious, I've sat through mass many times in Notre Dame, as well as Saint-Sulpice and other places. It's just really cool to sit through a French mass, and I just follow what other people do. If they stand up or they sit down, I do the same thing. I don't go do the communion, or don't do, like today, people were gathering and going up to pray in front of the cross that they brought out, but I just, you know, no, I don't want to disrespect them in any way. Not that I wouldn't do it, but I just, you know, I don't know the etiquette. And it's just really interesting, especially if you hear, like, you know, this weekend's Easter. I am going to do a live walk on Sunday. Look at this, we'll go down this lovely little street, the Rue de Bief. I'm going to do a live walk, which would be morning usual time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And I'm going to do it. We're going to pop into a bunch of the churches. Might not be able to go to Saint Germain L'Auxerrois. They might be chasing me out with a pitchfork. But I was just wanted to see the crown of thorns. I go do some salsa. I love all these little street salsas, the quiet streets. This is the other big trick is when you're in Paris, just go a block away from where the people are, and then it's quiet and lovely. The Musée de Cluny, which is up here, is opening in less than a month. It opens May 12th. That's so exciting. We just recorded a podcast, 2 podcasts today. The one that's going to come out Monday is about, there's some Boston. Rachel Felix, who was like the first international star. Danielle Mitterrand, wife of Francois. So Francois Mitterrand, did you listen to the episode we did about the women of the resistance? Well, there was this adorable, look at how cute this little is. There was the adorable nun in World War I and World War II, Sister Helen, and she was up in Alsace, and she created a basically a little network. And Francois Mitterrand was somebody she helped smuggle out of there, future president of France. I don't know if I've ever walked down this street, guys. I'm glad to do it with you. My allergies have been hard, not easy. I really tested out my French by going to pharmacies and asking for a French equivalent of a neti pot. That was hilarious. There was just a lot of miming and a cell, a low, and basically tilting my head like I was using a neti pot. I always love finding those. My clients I have next week are staying right around here. I have to go to the Airbnb and open it up and put some goodies in there. So don't worry, I'll take some photos and share it with you because we all love to see inside Parisian apartments. So anyway, I am also going to figure out, yes, Tara, that's it. Sorry, Janice. I don't see like the comments show up on my screen for like a half a second. And then they disappear. So I always have to stop and check it out. Look at how cute this, like this, literally the weather right now is perfect. Like there's a tiny bit of a breeze. I did get a little burned though, standing in front of Notre Dame because it was from like 11:30 to 12:30, like the peak. And I was back in my apartment doing some work and I kept scratching my arm and I realized it's a little peak. And Crystal said her clients were like, they didn't think they needed to bring some sunscreen today. How sweet that is. We're just do you guys want me to just keep you walking with me on the way back to Odillon? Keep me company. I am. Oh, I was going to start to say I'm going to do some other little things. I did a podcast episode for this French language school in English, but with a very nice gentleman named Emile. And I have been talking about with some other people about maybe doing some little live chats. Let this go by. Do some live chats with some of my friends that I know here from Paris. So I don't know when. That's a whole nother thing, because starting Tuesday, I'm insanely busy, and pretty much almost every day next month with tours. But and I might not be able to do a live tour on the 24th. I might have to see if we do it a different day. But that is when I'm with these ladies, and I'm with them for dinner. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, but I will definitely let you know next week. And I hate not keeping that Sunday commitment, but I'll have to play that by ear, or maybe just do it at a different time. That's also the election. So if I don't do dinner with them, because it's their second to last night, maybe I could still do it. The first round of the election, of course, was this last Sunday, and now it's down to Le Pen and the handsome Macron. I did have somebody send me a message that, because I kept posting hot pictures of the president, and somebody let me know that his issues are more important than how handsome he is. It's like, listen, I don't get to vote. I don't really have a skin in the game, but I just would like to see 5 more years of, and also she's crazy. So, but I mean, come on, make sure you look at some of the pictures I posted. This store has always kind of boggled my mind, but it's always busy. Comic books like these books, where they're like graphic novels, are huge here. I don't notice those in the States as much. So let's look up the street here. Actually, let's walk up this way. It was blocked. Yesterday when I came up here, you could walk up this street through Saint-Jacques, but you couldn't go down the other side streets. They wouldn't let you at all. And I saw some videos online on the French news that showed some pretty bad little scuffles with the police and the students. So, but this whole side of the street straight up ahead, because of course that's the Sorbonne, the block after with the tower, let's go by the queen. It was completely lined up with police vans. I'm getting the hiccups. Also, another thing I don't get. Okay, this is Paris, in the city. This camping store in this area alone, it feels like there's like 30 of them. Like, do they need that many camping stores? I don't know about that. But camping's not my jam, in case you ever had a question. Clearly, I'm not a camper. It's about as outdoorsy as I get. So here we are at the Cluny. I cannot wait to go. I'm bummed out. I have a tour that day, or else I wanted to be there first thing. You see this dude just kicking back in his bike. Look. Oh, I wish you guys could smell this. These all just popped open in like the last 2 days. Look at, oh, it smells so good. Look at that. Here it is. When I came in 2016, it was like 2/3 of the way already closed because it closed right after that. Oh, so here's the side street still blocked off. Can't go down it. There's still police cornered off. And Emil said that people were like, showed me a photo of people like literally climbing up the side. But it is true. Climate change kind of isn't a big thing in the election, and it really should be. Look at all of those lilacs. So I'm going to try, because Ellen had a great idea that I should go up to Closerie des Lilas, because that whole part in front of it should be covered with lilacs. So maybe I'll try to do that. I'm thinking how my schedule is the next 2 days. I love the Petit Prince. There is an exhibit at the Musée des Arts Décoratifs right now of the original manuscript. It's never, first time it ever left the US. It was a really interesting exhibition. I don't think I've shared it yet. But this is the part they redid. For a short period of time, they had this part open, I think in 2019, that you could go in there and see the unicorn tapestries, but then they since closed that up. So, but it will open in less than a month, which is kind of exciting. I'm really excited to go in there and see the heads from Notre Dame, because I saw those before, but I didn't see them with the knowledge I have of it now. So I'm really excited to get in there and see that. So, all right, guys, I'll get over there. I was hearing from my apartment, because I'm in this area, a lot of whistles and sirens when I was home this afternoon before we did the recording. So I don't know if that was because of up here and the Sorbonne and what was going on, or what the deal was. This is, for those of you that are a book addict like I am, this is a fantastic place to come for used books. There's another one over here. It's bad news when I go in there. I usually always find a very large, heavy stack of books. Someday we'll get across the street. So is there a lot about Notre Dame on the TV today, on the news in the US? I would think that some of those channels, like Good Morning America and all those kinds of all those kind of channels. Geez Louise, are we ever gonna cross? I would think those guys would say something. Have you guys seen anything yet today? Just curious. I would hope they would say something. Thank you, Lisa. We'll take you down the street here to the fanciest. See, this is why I'm bad I go in there. The angels with the greatest hair in Paris are right up here. This is also where Sarah Bernhardt was supposedly born. There's 2 locations that are given. From the research I did when we did the podcast, I think this is the one, the Champollion. So it's the 200th anniversary of him deciphering the Rosetta Stone. And that's the guy right there. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on in September about that. And so I'm really excited to see all of that. There's an exhibit at the Bibliothèque Nationale of Champollion that I want to go check out too. But look at those angels. See their hair? Very fancy. Oh, I didn't look at my. Yeah, hopefully I would think that they'd say something. I didn't see any US I mean, usually CNN and those guys all have it on their, have, you know, it on their cameras and stuff, and I didn't see any today. But I think this motorcycle behind me is going to try to kill me. So I'll get somewhere quiet if that's possible, but it's already 7 o'clock here in Paris. Apéro time. So actually, I know they're going to be working if you watched the video last week. So Pauline, if you watched the video Sunday, I was going to take you into the Comptoir, and Pauline was going to be there at 6. Well, she got there about 6:45 because she went home to take a nap from 3 to 6 and slept through her alarm. So she got back there at about 7. So it was good that we didn't wait. It would have been a while. But I could always pop you guys in there. Here, I'll say hi real quick. Hi. So I can keep an eye on who's behind me. You don't see anything specifically. Thanks, Lisa. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do have something. This is, let me turn this back around as my face is right in your screen. This is the History of Medicine Museum. I haven't been in there yet. It has very strange hours. Like it's only open in the afternoon from like 2 to 2:10 or something. A little more than that, but you get the gist. But it's supposed to be kind of a little gory, but it's supposed to be fascinating. And the room itself is beautiful. But this is a medical school. If you read that really fantastic book by Stephen Ambrose, he talks a lot about, look at that key. Give me that key. Where is that key? How cool is that key tool? He talks about doctors that were from the US that came here to train because they could get more training here coming to France in the medical field. In this area right here, there's the medical school, the newer medical school, which is still, 100 some odd years old, is down Saint-Germain-en-Laye, just past Jumago. So it's down over there. You guys did I see a comment that said you typed something in? That's all I saw. Let's see. Huh. Well, hopefully they mention it. Except for when they do mention it in the US news, it's always annoying because they sensationalize whatever they're saying a little to get people more interested in it. Like when the gentleman came into the Louvre years ago with a machete, and he came in underneath the carousel entrance. And I remember Good Morning America, Robin Roberts going, steps away from the Mona Lisa, a machete wield. And I was like, steps away, it's like 3/4 of a mile, like literally. But here is what I showed you the other day. This was the original Shakespeare Company. David Sedaris has an apartment above it. Supposedly he still does, even though he lives in England now. And we'll walk around here. We'll go down the corner. We'll pop in and say hi to Sylvain, Pauline, maybe even Eve. Eve was busy doing some TV stuff yesterday in his very fancy white chef's jacket. But look at how beautiful it is today. Every terrace is going to be filled with people. Here's the wonderful Zoe's shop. She's in there. It was her birthday yesterday. And here is my favorite. This is a good time to come, guys. Good time to actually get a seat. This is kind of the trick. Come at 7. Let's see. What do we have here? Do you see him? There's Pauline. I'll go in and say hi and say goodbye. Oh, there's still that. No paparazzi. And there's Pauline. So that is the fantastic Le Comptoir. And I will say goodbye. And I will go in there and get myself a glass of wine. But thank you guys so much for joining. And if you're joining on YouTube, thanks for watching. And hope you guys all have a rest of your wonderful Monday. And join me 5 p.m. from Paris, 8 a.m. West Coast, 11 East Coast. If you want to, Claudine at ClaudineHemingway.com. There's Eric. And I will see you guys all. And make sure you check the stories. I'm going to put a bunch of the videos I did today, the Crown of Thorns and of the speech at Notre Dame. I'll post all of that shortly in my stories. And thank you guys so much. And we'll see you soon.